Hello everyone, welcome to part 3 of my PS2 collection. So let's just continue, I'm not going to waste any time here, let's just continue right from where we left off. So, the next game I have is Need for Speed Most Wanted, which I love playing a lot of. It's actually my favorite Need for Speed game in the series. I played the crap out of this one. I love the customization, the car customization, the police chases, the pursuit mode anyways. It's just a lot of fun. Ghost Recon 2. Out of all the Tom Clancy games in the long line of games, the Ghost Recon is probably one of my least favorite franchises. Not that they're bad games or anything, I just always have a hard time getting into them because I'm pretty bad at tactical shooters. And this game is no different. I can't even get past the first level because I'm freaking terrible at this game, but it's not a bad game from what I played of it, though. It was pretty decent. I think the only Ghost Recon game I truly got into, though, was Wildlands. That one I actually enjoyed a lot. SNK Arcade Classics Volume 1. This one contains games like Shock Troopers, Metal Slug, Samurai Showdown, Fatal Fury, Last Resort, Neo Turf Masters, Baseball Stars 2, and a bunch of other stuff. It's a pretty solid compilation. Not the best, but still pretty... Damn it. But, still pretty good. I enjoyed it. Turok Evolution. Yeah, this one was really disappointing. I didn't find this one to be very enjoyable. Compared to the N64 games, which I really liked, this one was just incredibly boring to me, and I found this game to be I just found this game to be a lackluster experience. Shadow of the Colossus. I've played it, but I can't really give much of an opinion on this because I don't really have much to say about it. The game does look great, I will admit, but I don't know. I guess I just gotta be in the right mood to play it just to give a better opinion on it, because I've only played it for like 10 minutes and I can't really say much. 13. This is a pretty interesting game. It's a first-person shooter with a comic book style art direction. It's pretty good. It's actually done by Ubisoft when they were still doing really good with their stuff before they just went to a really dark period, and then they finally got back on their feet in recent years. But 13 is pretty solid though. I like it. The Simpsons Hit and Run. This game is really good. Like, awesome even. This is my favorite Simpsons game for many reasons. I love the large open world environment you can explore in. Just explore Springfield at any time, anywhere. Just looking at every nook and cranny. It's so cool. All the character dialogue never gets boring or repetitive. It's always fun to listen to. And because there's quite a huge story ahead, there's just so much to there's just so much dialogue to hear. It's just great, and a lot of it's really funny. It actually nails it on the head with the jokes, pretty much. And I love the places you can go into, and there's like a lot of vehicles you can take, and there's also a lot of vehicles you can choose from besides the ones you can steal. Technically, you don't steal because someone will just freely chauffeur you around, but it's still basically GTA with Simpsons characters, but I absolutely freaking love it. It's so much fun to play. Also, you get to play as all the Simpsons characters. Bart, Lisa, Homer, and Marge. I don't think you play as Maggie, but I don't remember. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. This is my favorite game in the series, at least so far. I haven't really finished MGS3 yet, and I haven't played Peace Walker, so just bear with me. I'm kind of behind on Metal Gear Solid, but I do have the HD collection, so I can get a little further. I also need to get MGS4, but that's beside the point. Anyways, Metal Gear Solid 2 is just a really good game. I enjoyed this one all the way through. I know a lot of people don't really like Raiden, but honestly, I found Raiden to be a pretty good character. I think a lot of the hate he gets is a bit undeserved sometimes. Sure, there are times when he is a little bit too whiny, but honestly, I understand why he is the way he is. I think if people just played through the entire game, they would realize why he is so constantly emotional. and is always breaking down so much because he feels like his whole life is a lie because he was force-fed into military stuff, and he was never able to get out of it. I completely understood that. Also, I think the boss fights are pretty solid. Most of them are quite smart. The only one I wasn't too big a fan of was Vamp's boss fight because he was incredibly annoying, and I didn't like the structure of it. It was a pain. But the overall quality of this game is just staggering. I love this game to absolute death. It's freaking awesome, and I wouldn't mind giving it another playthrough. Castlevania Lament of Innocence. A lot of people don't really like this game, but I thought it was pretty fun. It reminded me a lot of the God of War series and Devil May Cry. So yeah, there's that. I'm actually a really big Castlevania fan. I just sadly don't have as many of the games as I would like to. I have this, I have Curse of Darkness, I have Symphony of the Night, and I do have Castlevania Harmony of Despair on my PS3. But, but Castlevania games are really expensive. But I have played most of them, though, rest assured, and I love those games. They're just so much fun to play. Not to mention the dark gothic art style always brings a joy to my eyes. It's just nice. But Lament of Innocence, I actually really enjoyed. I think the hate it gets is a little undeserved at times, but I enjoyed it. Not as much as Curse of Darkness, though. I do prefer Curse of Darkness because of the better camera controls and the larger amount of combos to pull off, not to mention the huge weapon count. Like, they all have their own different personalities and such, and damage rates. And the Innocent Del system, I prefer that. But Lament of Innocence is still a really solid game, and it stands very well on its own. Dirge of Cerberus Final Fantasy VII. This one was actually pretty solid. It's a lot different from other Final Fantasy games, especially the game that it is a side story to. But I still really enjoyed it. It's a very good third-person shooter mixed with an RPG. It's a lot shorter than Final Fantasy VII or hell, even Crisis Core, but it's still a really good game. Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow. This is the only one I've played in the Splinter Cell series, and I actually really enjoyed it. I never finished it, though, but this one I actually had a lot of enjoyment out of. It's a little bit different than the Metal Gear Solid series, where the stealth thing is you actually have to avoid combat, because if you get caught, then it's game over. Now you'd think this would really bother me, but I actually understood what they were going for here, and yeah, given the context of this game, I like what it was going for, and it's actually a lot of fun to play. I really enjoyed it. RPG Maker 3. This isn't really mine, this is actually my brother's game. But, this is actually pretty good. Although, it is hard to work with because, well, it's not because it's not a PC game, but just because I don't have the patience to make all this shit up. It's just, I don't know, I get a little creatively frustrated, but it's really fun to play, and I should play this more often. Tony Hawk's Underground. The Tony Hawk game that I played the most of, along with Pro Skater 4. I really enjoy this game, and I actually finished it too. I love the story, I love the character creation, I love the soundtrack, and I love the overall skate physics are just awesome here. I just love this game. It's so good. Not to mention, this was the first game in the series where you could walk off your board, and it was pretty damn neat. So yeah, it was quite innovative for its time. Street Fighter EX3, yeah, the cover's printed. Sorry about that. Yeah, Street Fighter EX3. I thought this was a pretty decent game. Even though it's a bit on the clunky side compared to games like Street Fighter 4 and the like, I still found EX3 to be a pretty decent game nonetheless. Although I do think Street Fighter EX2 is the best one in the series. Grand Theft Auto 3. Probably not my favorite game in the GTA series, but not a bad game. I'm not the biggest fan of it though. I mean, I like some of the games, but I'm not a huge fan. I've never been a fan. I don't think I ever will be, because the series is just really not all, I like the open world, but in all honesty, I think the hype the games get is just, the game's overall not that interesting to me, but I did enjoy this one. This was the first GTA I ever played, and I actually had a lot of fun with it. And even though it hasn't aged well compared to the later games, I still really like it. Call of Duty 3. This one is one of the last This one was probably one of the last World War II Call of Duty games before World at War came out, and then even before COD World War II came out. But I mean, this was like the last of the World War II trilogy before they started going into modern territories with Modern Warfare, and then the future territories with Black Ops and Infinite Warfare. But Call of Duty 3 is a pretty decent game. I actually had some enjoyment out of it. I haven't played in a long time, though. I need to get back into it, or maybe I should just start over. Hell if I know. Virtua Fighter 4. Really good game. Played this one quite a lot back when I was in middle school. I don't play it as much now because I got the other one, but still a very solid game. But this one's way better. Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. This one not only improves the fighting mechanics, but it also contains 2 new characters, which are these guys here, Brad Wong and Go Hinogami. It also includes a 10th anniversary remaster of the first Virtua Fighter, which is really neat, and it even includes all the later characters from Virtua Fighter 2 and beyond in all their VF1 glory, which is neat. And it also includes a really cool quest mode, which is quite interesting, and it gives the game a lot of variety and replay value and longevity. It's a fantastic game, and I highly recommend you check this out. Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. This game is pretty decent, well, on the 360. This version is kind of meh. There's a lot of things they kind of cut out from this game, and it really makes... And a lot of the cuts they made kind of watered this game down to hell and back. I think some PS2 ports of PS3 games can, or even 360 games, like just last-gen ports of next-gen games can work, but this was not one of those games that worked very well, that it worked well with. Tekken 4. Not my favorite game in the series, but I still had a lot of enjoyment out of it. I do like the fighting mechanics, and I did enjoy the Tekken Force mode, and the endings were quite hilarious. My biggest complaint, though, is the balance was a bit off, and the fact that the slope mechanic wasn't really needed. It just felt kind of unfair in places, and it was just kind of unnecessary, especially considering the previous Tekken games never did that. So and they never used it again because people didn't really like it. And I'm kind of glad they didn't because it was just really not needed. But still, I enjoyed this for what it was. Although Tekken 5 I do prefer, 4 is still pretty solid in my opinion. Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories. Now, I sadly haven't really sat down and finished the game, but from what I played of it, I really liked it. It was quite fun. And there was just a lot more added to it. The game looks better. It plays better. It's a really good game overall. Crash Tag Team Racing. This is probably one of the weakest entries in this series I've played. Definitely not my favorite Crash game. I really liked this when I was in high school, but playing it again for the first time in a while, honestly, it isn't that great of a game. The problem I have with this is that it's way too easy. The clash mechanic, it seems like it could have worked. You could just, like, tag team with other racers on the field, but the problem with that is it breaks the game tremendously. It makes every race a breeze. Because if you do that, the driver will be a crack shot, a perfect shot no less, and the driver will just drive perfectly to the finish line, and you could just win the races all the damn time, and I was not a fan of it. It just feels like the game was trying to appeal to a massive audience, and it just really didn't work out. And the platforming stages were kind of useless. They didn't really serve any purpose, except to unlock stuff. Overall, it's not an awful game. It's okay for what it is, but there's a lot of issues that plague it. I think another big... Actually, never mind. I already mentioned my complaint. It's all the complaints I had. Prince of Persia: Warrior Within. Now, it's not, I do prefer the Sands of Time over this one because I think the darker tone was a bit unnecessary, but I still found this to be a relatively solid game despite that. Medal of Honor Frontline. This game is okay, but I like Rising Sun a lot better. This one was just kind of, it was alright. It just isn't, I don't know, something about it just didn't really sit with me. Sonic Unleashed. A lot of people seem to hate this game, like, criticize it just because of the Werehog stages, and that's basically the only criticism I hear about it. But honestly, I thought this was pretty good despite the issues it had. Sure, the Werehog stages are not perfect, they could have been better, but I actually enjoyed them. They were fun to me. I was able to overlook the flaws that the Werehog stages did have, and I had a lot of fun with it, despite it being repetitive. And the daytime stages are a lot of fun to play, so yeah. Honestly, I think it was just a bit unfair for people to judge it, to say this game was terrible just solely based off of the mechanics of the Werehog stages, because I mean, they don't even take up all of the game. They're more than half it is daytime stages, and they're a lot of fun, so yeah. Granted, I respect people's opinions, and if they don't like the Werehog stages, that's entirely fine. I just think that the hate is a bit overblown, and while I get why people don't like them, I just think that's like the only thing they criticize, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, if they have other, like, I know some people do have legit criticisms about it, and that's fine. But there are just other people that like to bash on this game for no reason other than to jump on the bandwagon. Raiden 3. This is a shmup for the system. One of the few that I own. And it's actually a really solid game. It's really fast paced. It reminds me a lot of the Strike Gunner STG of Strike Gunner on the in the arcades, which was released in 1991, I believe. And it also reminds me a lot of there was another shmup I like, Ikaruga. I had a lot of fun playing this game. It's not as difficult as Ikaruga, but it's still just as fun all the same. Project Snowblind. This one is a futuristic FPS, and I actually really enjoyed that. It kind of reminded me of Halo, but with a different setting. It's actually very underappreciated. Not many people seem to talk about this game. I highly recommend checking it out. It's developed by the same guys that did the Gex and the Tomb Raider series, so it's worth a shot. Just Cause. The first one's not a bad game, but nowhere near as good as 2 or 3. They're way better. This one's just kind of lackluster in comparison. Cabela's Big Game Hunter. This was alright. Not my favorite game in the Cabela's series. In fact, I'm not really the biggest Cabela's fan in general, but not bad. Not bad. Stacked with Daniel Negreanu. This was actually really fun. It's a poker game. And this is the only poker game I have, but it's the only poker game I really need, because I actually found this game to be quite fun. Yeah, I know, poker is boring to some, but to others it's quite fun. I find poker to be quite fun, so yeah, that's really all I can say about it. Tekken Tag Tournament. Really, this game isn't my favorite in the series. Not that it's bad or anything, I still like it, but I prefer Tag Tournament 2 so much more. This one's just okay to me. There's a lot of characters to choose from, which is great, and there's a lot of stages, and it does look a bit better than Tekken 3, but I still prefer Tekken 3 so much more because I prefer the playstyle and the mechanics a lot more, and plus I grew up with Tekken 3 anyway. Tekken Tag Tournament just felt like a rehash of Tekken 3 instead of it being a new game in the series that further improves upon a lot of stuff. But still, it's not a bad game. Hot Shots Golf 4. Oh my god, I love this game. I'm not really a big sports game fan, but this game I wasted countless hours on with my family. I played the absolute shit out of this game. It's so much fun. Instead of it being a realistic golf game, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very arcade-like, and there's a lot of comedy within it. It's just so much fun. And it's a hard game to get used to, but once you do get used to, it becomes a lot of fun, and it's one of those games where you're just determined to get better the more you play. Like, you want to do better in the game, so yeah, I highly appreciate it. It's good stuff. Tekken 5. This one is so much better than Tekken 4, and definitely one of my favorite games in the series by a mile. They really improved the fighting mechanics here, and now it did strip down a few things from Tekken 4, but I think that was for the better because some of the mechanics in Tekken 4 kind of added more than bargained for, and Tekken 5 cut back all the unnecessary fat and kept in what worked and took out what didn't work. Not only that, they also improved upon the mechanics and made things even more fluid and fast-paced. Not to mention, this game is also a hardware pusher, just like Tekken 3 for the PS1. In the fact that this one looks like it could be an early PS3 game. It looks that amazing. Not to mention, it runs really smoothly at 60 frames per second, and it plays like a dream. Like, there's no slowdown whatsoever playing this game. It just feels so fun. It just feels so fresh, so fun. Such a good game. Like, there's also a lot of characters to choose from, over 30 different ones, and the overall large amount of characters alone makes multiplayer games a lot of fun. Not only that, it even includes a lot of extra content, like the first 3 Tekken games on their arcade forms, which is so cool. I love that feature, especially considering it does have Tekken 3, which is my favorite game in the series, and just that, having that in there is the icing on the cake. And the Devil Within adventure game is really fun too, so yeah, really worth a shot. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. I prefer this one over the Two Towers because this one you actually get to, you actually have co-op mode, and you also get to play as more than just Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. You also get to play as Gandalf, Frodo, and Sam, and a few others. Great stuff. One of the best movie games of all. Now for the rest of the games, which I don't have cases for. Yu Yu Hakusho Dark Tournament. Compared to other fighting games I've played, this one's a bit on the clunky side, but it is one of those games that takes time to learn. Overall, this game is not bad. It's pretty decent, but it definitely could have been better for sure. I found this one to be kind of clunky in spots, but I know it does take some time, so I took that into consideration. Red Faction. Really good FPS game with an interesting engine called the Geomod engine, which allows for destructible environments. I had a lot of fun playing this game, but holy hell, it could be brutal sometimes. Like, there are times when you're just gonna get ganged up on by enemies everywhere, and when you save, you can save anywhere you want, but if you do that, your health also stays with you. So if you save with low health, then you are absolutely screwed. So look for health items constantly because you're gonna need them. You can get screwed out. You can get screwed in just a few seconds. So when you play this game, just be prepared because it is not an easy game whatsoever. It's fun though. I highly recommend checking it out. Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. Definitely the best game in the series I played. I had a lot of fun with this one. Test Drive. Pretty decent game. This is actually one of the only games I've played in this series. I've also played Test Drive 4 on the PC, but that was really about all I played. But Test Drive on PS2 is pretty decent, though I don't know why they decided to call it Test Drive. They could have just called it Test Drive Overdrive like they did in the other countries, but whatever. Still a decent game. The Simpsons game. I've actually beat this one like 4 times, I think. Maybe 3 or 4 times, but I actually really enjoyed this game. It was a lot of fun. Although, the biggest problem I have with it is the camera angles can be a little bit screwy sometimes, and the game is a little on the short side, but this is still a relatively fun game, and it's even more fun with friends, so I recommend playing it, at least once. Need for Speed Underground. Definitely one of the best games in this series. Plenty of customization, lots of the street racing is just a lot of fun. Just lots of tracks to race through, and plenty of different race modes, like the regular circuit mode, sprint, drag, drift. So much fun. Resident Evil Code Veronica X. This is one of the few games I have in the series. I don't have that many. I used to have Outbreak, and I had Resident Evil 4, but they broke, and I don't have them anymore. So I just have this, and I have Resident Evil 6 and Revelations 2 as well. But this game is pretty good, though. I actually had a lot of enjoyment out of it. It's just a hard game. It's a very hard game. Alright, now for the rest of the games I keep in this little case here. Alright, so the next game I have is Iron Man, which is based off the movie from 2008. The game isn't awful, but it's not great by any means. It's flawed. Castle Shikigami 2, sorry about the lighting. This game is another shoot 'em up, and I actually really enjoyed this one. It was a lot of fun to play. But, man, the voice acting is just awful. It is so disjointed. The character interactions don't make any sense whatsoever. And it's hilariously bad. It's like the room levels of bad. It's just so funny to hear. Shrek Super Slam. This is basically a Power Stone clone. But it's actually a pretty fun game, despite it being a lot like Power Stone or Super Smash Brothers. It's a 3D arena fighting game with Shrek characters, but there's a lot of characters to choose from. There's Pinocchio, Shrek, Fiona, Donkey, Ogre Fiona, the Gingerbread Man, or Gingy as he's called in the movies. Who else was there? Red Riding Hood, and a bunch of other characters. Oh, it even had the Black Knight, who I don't think was in the movies, but maybe he was, I'm not sure. But it was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed it. Here's another really good fighting game, Bloody Roar 3. Sadly, the series died out after 4, and I'm really sad to see that there's no new game in the series, because we haven't had a new Bloody Roar game in 15 years, and that makes me sad, because Bloody Roar is actually one of my favorite fighting game franchises, and I had so much fun playing them. But Bloody Roar 3 is an awesome game. I had so much fun. It's a bit on the clunky side at times, but it is better than 2, and I had so much enjoyment out of it. If you don't know what Bloody Roar is, it's a fighting game where you can turn into different beasts, and they all have their own stats and attributes. It's so much fun. 007 Nightfire, one of the few James Bond games I have. This one is actually one of the best James Bond games in my opinion. I had a lot of fun playing it. I prefer this one over most of the other games. Hell, I even prefer this over GoldenEye. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but honestly, I don't think GoldenEye has aged significantly well over the years. Granted, I still think it's a good game, but it hasn't aged well to me. But Nightfire has aged gracefully, and I had a lot of fun with it. And the multiplayer is just so much fun. Great game. Madden NFL 10. This one, I don't really have much to say about it. I don't like sports games that much, but what I do like about it, Madden NFL 10, though, is the soundtrack. It's got a lot of bands I like on it. Like, it has Rage Against the Machine, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and whole bunch of others, so that's pretty cool. Supercar Street Challenge. A decent game, but nothing mind-blowing. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Another really good movie-based game. A lot of movie-based games aren't very good, but this is one of the few that are really good. It plays a lot like Battle for Bikini Bottom, and it was developed by Heavy Iron Studios, I believe. So, yeah, this was just... It just assures really good quality, so yeah. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 08. Again, not a fan of sports games. I don't really have much to say about it. And the last game I have here is Evil Dead Regeneration. This one I actually really enjoyed. The graphics aren't very good, but the game overall is a lot of fun. It's not particularly scary as it is gory. There's just a lot of action, just attacking zombies with your chainsaw, and your shotgun. It's just an overall fun game, despite the bad graphics. Overall, that is my entire PS2 collection. So now I will show my other collections in due time. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in a future video. Take care.